Hello, it's Ranger Russ coming to you from the aviary, inside the Blue Jay Aviary at the Meggs Point Nature Center. So I'm very excited. We have our Blue Jay Day today. They're really cool, hopping around above me right now. I'll switch the camera around so you get to see them in a second, but before we do that, I want to tell everybody that the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection has almost all of our parks are open for this holiday weekend. Please come out and visit. If the park is filled to capacity, do not park on the street and walk in. Please find a different place to go. There aren't any Connecticut residents that are more than 15 minutes from a state park, so go find a different state park and enjoy the outdoors for this Memorial Day weekend. Let's take a time to remember what this weekend is really all about. This weekend is about remembering servicemen and women that have served and lost their lives in the service of this country, and we want to honor them on this Memorial Day weekend. I hope everybody saw that. The Blue Jay just did a quick cameo there. Did you photobomb me? That was Lindy. I'll introduce them. Also, Great Backyard Pursuit is going. It's up and running. It's lots of fun. I'm hoping tomorrow, keep an eye on Facebook Live, sometime around 2 o'clock, hopefully, we're going to run one of the first Great Backyard Pursuit. See, keep saying that. The first Great Backyard Pursuit event, which was to find art in nature. And I think we're going to go out into the park and see if I can do that event, see if I can find some art in nature, which I'm going to say, not going to be too hard here at Hammonasset. I tell people all the time that every view at Hammonasset is a photo opportunity. All right, are you guys ready to see the Blue Jays? I know this is like, oh, I just saw the Blue Jay and the Ranger's not showing them. All right, Lindy is bouncing around on the ground here. I'm going to flip the camera and we're going to start talking about Blue Jays. How cool is this? This is Lindy. Lewin is up above here. Lewin is moving around a lot. Lewin we know is a girl because she laid an egg. Lindy, we're not so sure about. I have a feeling that she might be a girl as well, but can't really tell for sure. Now, she likes paper, you can see. Oh, she's tearing a hole in the paper there. She will play with this paper as well. So let me tell you a little bit about why we have Blue Jays. First of all, the Nature Center focuses on animals that are native to the state of Connecticut. So all of the animals that you can see here are either native to Connecticut or found in Connecticut. Sometimes we have invasive species that don't belong but are found here. All right, let's see if she's going to do it. These two Blue Jays both have, unfortunately, the same story. They are both nest falls. Nest falls happen. You have a nest of birds, and Blue Jays can have up to 8 babies at a time. So you get a full nest, and as they begin to learn to fly, or sometimes even before that, they will fall out of the nest. When they fall out of the nest, the parents will continue to feed them. If they can find them, if they're in the area and making noise, the parents will definitely still take care of them. But if there's a nest of babies and then a single baby on the ground, the baby on the ground isn't going to get as much food. So we like to get them back up to the nest, or at least as close to the nest as possible. It is okay to touch a baby bird. The mother is not going to abandon it if you touch it. Their parental instinct is much stronger than that. They want their babies to survive. But both of our Blue Jays, Lindy and Lewin, and if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, I'll explain the names in a second. But both of them were nest falls. They fell to the ground, and people picked them up and tried to raise them by hand. Either they didn't see the parents around, which a lot of times you're not going to see the parent, because if you're near the baby, the parent is not going to be happy. And with Blue Jays, they'll fly over squawking sometimes, but not always. So the people, one of them was brought pretty quickly to a rehabilitator, And the other one, unfortunately, was kept at home for too long, and then it went to the rehabilitator. In either case, both of them were deemed non-releasable. They try what's called a soft release, where you open up the aviary and you let the blue jays leave, and hopefully they leave and come back and leave and come back, and eventually they leave and don't come back. And that means it's called wilding up. They've wilded up enough. Our parrots are jealous over there that I'm in here talking about blue jays. All right, we have to talk about that too in a second. So in any case, these blue jays were deemed non-releasable and ended up here at the Nature Center, where they have great fun. We have our parrots right across the way, and if you've noticed, the blue jays sound just like the parrots. That's because the blue jays are mimicking the parrot calls. One of the things that blue jays do is mimic. So that's actually closer to a real blue jay call. Earlier, one of them that I'm in the aviary did the exact parrot call. So the parrots are doing their warning call, and the blue jays do the parrot warning call. And they go back and forth. Our blue jays have also learned osprey calls, because we have an osprey camera on our website, which is played on a screen right around the corner. And you can hear the baby ospreys calling for food, and now our blue jays will call for food like the osprey do. So I mentioned their names, Lindy and Lewin. Both are from the book Lord of the Rings. If anybody's familiar with that, it's from the Elven language in Lord of the Rings. Lindy means singer, and Lewin means... Look at that. That's really a blue jay alarm call. That's why people don't like blue jays. Lewin means blue. So we have blue and singer in Elven. Now you guys can put your questions up at any time, and I appreciate seeing where you're messaging from. So that's really cool that you guys are doing that. Thought she was going to play with the paper again. She will sometimes bounce around. I say she, I believe they're both females. But so with blue jays, you can't tell the difference between male and females by their coloring. It's called monodimorphic. Very big word. All it means is the boys and girls are the same color. So these are monodimorphic birds. The males get a little bit larger. For most of the time that we've had them, Lindy has been a little bit larger than Lewin, which made me think for a while that Lindy was a boy, but now I'm not really sure. Lindy's lost a little weight there, so she's about the same size as Lewin now. Look, she's got a peanut. So one of the things blue jays do is called caching. She just shoved that peanut into there. Okay, they will cache, they will bury things in the ground, acorns and seeds. So just like if you saw our squirrel program the other day, the squirrels spread acorns around, blue jays do the same thing. They will hide the nuts and the seeds, and then sometimes they don't dig them back up, and an acorn or a tree will grow. She's very interested in the camera. She's pecking at the phone there. They are very curious and super, super intelligent. Amongst the most intelligent animals on the planet. Now, parrot people and corvid, blue jays are in the corvid family. I hear them argue back and forth which birds are smarter, blue jays, corvids, or parrots. I have both. And in my experience, it turns out that I think the blue jays are at least smarter than the parrots that we have. Now, maybe our parrots aren't the smartest parrots in the world, and maybe our blue jays are not the smartest corvids in the world, but our blue jays seem very intelligent. They cache their food. They will move it if you watch them hide it. If any of you have had dogs and had your dogs hide a treat and they notice that you were watching them, they'll go and move the treat. Very fun to see that. Our blue jays do the same thing. And let's see, just going to peck around at my hand for a little while. It usually doesn't hurt. She does cache up my sleeve, so that may be what she's looking to see if she had hit anything up there or if there's anything that she can hide up there. She'll also pick at the buttons on my shirt. Any little thing that sticks out that's a little bit different. They do, in the wild, sometimes they will collect paint chips and colorful things, colorful pieces of plastic. That's one of the things sort of common to the corvid family, is they collect shiny or colorful objects. There's a little fluff there, very cool. Now I mentioned that they've learned to mimic the parrots and the osprey. In the wild, they will mimic the red-shouldered hawk. It's a very vocal hawk. And that's their warning to tell all the other blue jays in the area that there is a hawk. But what the blue jays have done is they've learned if they do the hawk call, all the other birds will fly away. Lewin sounds a little jealous up there. This is Lindy right now. So they will mimic the hawk call. All the other birds will fly away, and the blue jays will get first dibs at the food. So they're very, very smart. Their alarm call is quite obnoxious. So they can be really loud and boisterous, and people don't like it so much. But they also have very beautiful calls that they do. So you can hear Lindy up there is doing one of the pretty calls. All right, so now this is what made me think that this was a boy. Just doing a little R2-D2 noise. With some dancing. All right, I want to see some thumbs up if you guys think this is the coolest thing that a Blue Jay's ever done. Because I think this is so cool. I hope that you guys can hear her. It's a really cute little noise that she's making this whole time. She's just going like crazy. I don't even want to talk. This is so cool. All right, so that was really cool. She put on a little dance for everybody. That was amazing. You can see she's scratching herself. Oh, that reminds me, one of the coolest things that Blue Jays do. Sometimes you see Blue Jays and it looks like they're rubbing against ants. So they'll find an ant hill and they'll take the ants and rub them through their fur, their feathers. What they're doing, ants produce formic acid. They spray formic acid. It tastes bad, but that acid is the reason that birds don't like to eat them. So the Blue Jays will rub it into their feathers to keep bacteria and fungus and things out of their feathers. Sometimes they might get mites. So they put the formic acid, they rub the formic acid in their feathers, and the mites and the other things that might be in their feathers won't be able to grow. So I think it's absolutely amazing. They're so smart that they know to do that. And then, after they've rubbed all the formic acid into their feathers, the ants taste better and they can eat the ants. So maybe they originally did it to be able to eat the ants, and maybe they do it because they know after they do it, the mites will leave them alone. In any case, it's absolutely amazing what Blue Jays have adapted to do. Now, I mentioned how smart they are. Some people have seen them. They've adapted to sort of use tools to get food, especially captive ones. Oh, look, got cached food. She's checking it out, making sure that Lewin didn't go and move it on her. They usually don't do it. Once the food is cached, they'll move it around themselves, but I haven't seen them. That's a cool call. Lewin just did a pretty call. So they will continue to cache food. But yes, they're really smart. Now, blue jays, sometimes you'll see them out in the wild where they look like their heads are bald. And that's not a sick blue jay. Ours do it as well here in the Nature Center. That is part of molting. They will shed their feathers off and new feathers will grow in. It's called molting. And they look really pretty bad when they're molting. Their feathers aren't beautiful and see how nice and blue and pretty she looks. They don't look like that when they're molting. Now, a blue jay looks blue, right? Actually, the feathers are not blue. It's a trick of refraction. As the light reflects and refracts off of the feathers, it appears to be blue. If I had a feather, and I looked around today and there weren't any feathers that I could use, if you dip them in water, they end up being brown because the water disrupts the refraction of the light and the feathers are actually brown. So a bluebird actually has blue feathers, but a blue jay, well, let me check that. Maybe it was the indigo bunting that actually has blue feathers. But a blue jay, the feathers are just refracting the light. So I find that fascinating. Oh, does she want to come back over here? So I have a little peanut. Now, we give them an omelet every morning. The omelet contains egg shells and a little dog food and some mixed vegetables. And it's a great combination diet for them. They also get a mix of seeds. In the wild, blue jays are omnivores. They're going to eat seeds, they're going to eat worms and insect larvae, not earthworms, other kinds of worms like inchworms and things like that. Earthworms are actually not very good for them. Earthworms contain a microbe that's not good for blue jays. For a lot of birds, actually. There's only a few birds that can eat worms, and the robin is one of them. So there's a bit of the omelet. So in the wild, seeds, nuts, berries, and lots of insects and insect larvae, but they will raid another bird's nest and eat the baby birds out of there. If they get a mouse or carrion, if they find something dead, we call that carrion, and they would eat that as well. So one of the things, there it goes, the egg is going up my sleeve. That's nice. Let's hope that I can get that out of there before I leave. Don't want to smell that in an hour. All right. She's being really cool. They take the egg out. Look, she's going to move it again. They'll take it out, put it back in the shell, take it out of the shell, put it back. They go back and forth. We really want to enrich our birds' lives, all of our animals. We want to make them look for their food. We want to keep them active, give them something to think about. Oh, she's back to the paper. And the more they have to think about, the more things that they can do, keep them entertained, they won't get bored. So these birds have never been in the wild. They've lived in a much smaller cage than this. One of them. And we had a bird before this, Cutie. Cutie was kept in a really small cage for a while. But we keep them in this nice big aviary. They can actually fly. We weren't sure if there would be enough room for them to fly. They will fly circles around in this aviary. It's really cool. But mostly they're going up and down, bouncing around. She landed on my clipboard. Here, let's put the paper up here, see what she does with it. If You do that, yeah. There you go. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm having a hard time tracking with the camera, but every once in a while, and that's Lewin singing up above, every once in a while they'll rub their beaks on the sticks. They have to wear their beaks down. If you see, Lewin, her beak is worn right down really close. Lindy has to do a little more work on her beak. If she's not able to wear her beak down, we can do it for her. It's not necessarily a fun thing for the bird because you have to hold the bird to do it, but Lindy here is used to being held. Sometimes we have to trim their nails too because they're not wearing down. Oh, she knocked it onto the ground. Let's see if she's going to dance again. All right, if anyone has any questions about blue jays, someone's talking about Lindy sticking egg in my ear, and she has, and peanuts, both of them have put peanuts in my ears. They think that's a good place to cache. You want to look at the camera again? You guys are getting a close-up view here. She's very curious about the camera. That's neat, hopefully. All right, so let's talk about how smart they are. Now, didn't look very smart there because she just fell off the edge of her perch. But let's talk a little bit how smart they are. Now, cowbirds like to lay their eggs in other birds' nests. They're considered a parasitic bird. They don't make their own nest or raise their own young. The females will lay eggs in other birds' nests. So now I've got the parrots and the blue jays competing with me. But the blue jay is one of the only birds that's smart enough to recognize that a cowbird egg isn't the same as a blue jay egg. And when a cowbird lays its egg in a blue jay nest, the blue jay thinks, oh, somebody just left me a little meal, because they will eat eggs. So they will just grab the cowbird egg and eat it. Quick little meal. And then they say thank you to the cowbird for laying its egg in there. Other birds don't recognize that the cowbird egg is different. It's usually larger, and it's a different color than most of the birds where they're... Oh, look at that. You see that? So she flicks through the seeds. There's a mix of sunflower seeds and nuts and all kinds. There's cranberries in there, all sorts of things. She'll flick through looking for whatever it is she's looking for, but very often she flicks, let's say she wants a peanut, she'll flick a ton of peanuts out onto the floor and then pick one peanut. That's the peanut that she wanted. So not sure why she's throwing food all over the aviary. I think she just likes to make a mess. She likes us to clean it up for her. And let's give a shout out right now to the volunteers that come in and care for the blue jays. Actually have Roy has been coming for years now taking care of the blue jays. And before Roy, we had Ned and Lewis, and the three of them took care of these blue jays for years. Now we have new volunteers that come in and do it. So people really enjoy, I think, doing the blue jays. They're a lot of fun. Our parrots are having a great time over there right now. If you notice, Lindy is staying way up above. Lewin is the one that, sorry, reverse that. Lindy is the one that's down here. I do that all the time. I switch the name. Lewin stays up top usually, and Lindy is down here visiting me quite often. They will both hop all over me. They hop on my hat, sit on my shoulder. But they sort of each have their own territory. And Lewin has the above territory, and Lindy stays lower. So that's why you're seeing a lot more of Lindy today than Lewin. I'm going to stand up in a second and see if we can get Lewin to hop up on my shoulder. Someone says, I spent the last 2 weeks looking for a hawk that's been terrorizing my feeders. Turns out there's no hawk. Never has been a hawk. So thanks for explaining that. Yep, it's the blue jays, and they will squawk and make a racket to scare other birds off of the feeder. One of the tricks you can do to, if you continue to want to feed the birds, is do smaller feeders spread out. Smaller feeders are harder for a blue jay to get onto, but if you put a couple of them spread out from each other, they're only going to be able to terrorize one feeder at a time. So the other birds will have an opportunity to eat. Thank you for sharing that story. That's pretty funny. It happens more often than people realize as well. So let's talk a little bit more about the history of blue jays. There's a big word for everybody, and you can find all of these big words on our virtual learning center on megspointnaturecenter.org. There'll be a vocab list. Monogamish. That just means that boys and girls stay together forever. Now, if one of them dies, they will sometimes pick up a new mate, but they will mate for life. Look at that. Also, the entire family will stick around together. Sometimes they'll be together for a couple of years. The young out of the nest will stay in the area. They have been seen helping out their parents raise the next clutch of eggs, but that's not a common. I'm not sure how often that really happens, but there are a few sightings in the research that show that they will do that. There are a few birds that will actually do that. And the dad really sticks around. The dad is a big part of raising the young. A lot of birds, the dad just takes off and isn't part of raising the young. But this is one of the birds that the dad is around. In the winter, they'll gather together in bigger groups. Now, blue jays are not migratory per se, but occasionally just a group of blue jays will just up and fly away. They may be in a location for years, a couple of years, and then they just leave. They go south, and then they come back. It's difficult to explain why. No one knows why. There are lots of theories out there. So if any of you would like to be bird researchers, you can try and find out why blue jays migrate. Can't really understand it. They just leave sometimes. But it's very, oh, look at that. She's got that entire peanut. That's so crazy. She can carry that big nut around. Oh, she found a different place. So she's jamming it in there. Sometimes they actually will jam something in like that so that they can break the nut open. So they don't have to, this nut is kind of big, so she may not be able to stand on it to open it up. I'm not sure what she's got there now. A group of blue jays, so everybody knows like certain birds are flocks, crows are a murder, vultures are a parliament. For blue jays, it's called a party or a band. So I like to call them a party because they always look like they're having fun. She's not hopping up on my hands. All right, again, if you have any questions, you can post them. If you're not watching this live and you have questions, you can, again, post them, or you can send a message to us. You can message us on Facebook or on our website. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of these videos are stored up there, so you can go there and find them at any time if there's a particular video you want to watch. And they are in the Virtual Learning Center, along with lots of other information, word searches and fun activities that you can do at home. I want to remind everyone to continue doing the Great Backyard Pursuit. Lots of fun activities, and they've got activities for this weekend as well. This is a great program because I don't have to do a lot of talking because the parrots are doing all the talking over in the other aviary. I want to also ask you, oh, did you see that? She hid the peanut in a tear in the newspaper. Another behavior I've seen them do is they've learned that the flapping of their wings will blow the newspaper up. They'll flap their wings. When the newspaper rises, they shoot underneath, stash of food, and then they hop back out. So they learned how to get the paper up. So when we step in to clean, sometimes we're stepping on a peanut, like grinding it in underneath the paper. Now, Lewin just dropped a peanut down here, and Lindy just took it from me. Give me that peanut back. Now she's putting it up my sleeve. That's a good place. No, you still have it. They can fit a few peanuts in their mouths too. I don't know if you just could see that, but she has a peanut in her mouth. Oh, now the peanut's up my sleeve. Are you going to be able to get it? She is really curious about the camera. I brought the camera in here a few times. If you go to my Instagram, I have some great videos of her dancing. Ranger.Russ on Instagram. I put some videos up of her doing her little dance. And all the sounds that she makes along with the dance. All right. I'm going to stand up now and see if we can get some activity from our other blue jay. Oh. So when we first introduced these birds to each other, very quickly, because Lindy was here earlier, Lewin was here earlier. I'm going to do that the whole program. Lewin was the dominant one. And for the most part, Lewin still is the dominant one. But occasionally we see Lindy showing dominance. So we're not sure what the behavior is, why sometimes it's one bird or the other that is the dominant one. All right, let's see if she wants to, she will land on my arm. She'll pick at my sleeves, just like Lindy was doing. Hello, Lewin. Huh? I've always felt that blue jays are one of the most beautiful birds in the world, and being from New England, we kind of take it for granted. We see them all the time. These in cardinals, she was pecking at my shoe down there. We kind of take it for granted how beautiful these birds really are. And I think if you just step back and look at a blue jay for what it is, it's an efficient hunter. It uses its call, even though that call can be obnoxious or annoying to us. It is an effective way of getting and maintaining food and keeping territories. Their beautiful calls are absolutely amazing to listen to. That beautiful color pattern on their backs. They really are a gorgeous bird. They've got some great colors there. They're smart enough to use tools to a minor extent. I'm fascinated that they can recognize a cowbird's egg. And she just stuck something in my ear. Is it still there? No, she kept it out. That's good. All right. So, absolutely an amazing bird. I say at each program that, it's my favorite animal, and the more you learn about a specific animal, the more it becomes your favorite. So for today, I hope everyone realizes how amazing the blue jay is, and I hope it's your favorite for today. I am always fascinated to see their behaviors, because they do change their behaviors. So they've switched now. Lewin's on the floor, and Lindy is up here. So this is Lindy. Lewin's hopping around on the ground down there, looking at some peanut shells. Okay, any questions? Hello, Vermont. We have Madison. There's a local. I can't wait till the building opens and you can all come and visit these amazing animals that we have here. Get to see them in person. You learn different things when you see an animal in person than if you're just visiting them through this virtual way. All right. I'm not seeing any questions. Hopefully everyone learned a lot about blue jays. Learn about the natural world in general. It is amazing how all the animals fit together and work together and just sometimes work even when they work against each other. How can you tell them apart? There's a couple ways I can tell. Their behavior is one way. Lindy, who's on the floor right now, has one crooked toe. Toenail's a little bit crooked from the others, but that's not always the best way. And Lewin here just finished a molt. So if you notice, her feathers are not as clean and precise. I'm sorry. Lindy just finished the molt. Lewin is still molting a little bit. So her feathers, if you look, are not as nice as Lindy's feathers. And that's not because Lewin is old. Lewin is a year older. So Lindy is going to be 2, and Lewin is going to be 3 this year. But that's how I can tell. When you've been around them a long time, it gets easier to tell. So she just showed her crest. I hope everybody saw that. You missed it too, because Lewin did the same thing. They have a really nice crown. They only raise that. That's a communication method for them. And now she's back on my shoulder. That was in my ear. She's talking to me. What are you doing back there? All right. I'm not sure what she wants. She's dropping food all over me. How cool is that? All right, if anybody wonders if I enjoy my job, this is going to show you how much I love my job, because I get to do this with 2 of the most friendly, intelligent, fun birds you could be around. Someone's asking, should we really be putting out feeders at this time? So there's a lot of debate about whether and when you should feed birds. Some people feel that if you feed them in the winter and not in the summer, then they become dependent on them in the winter, and then they're looking for food in the summer. You can put them out and take them in whenever you want. Birds are smart. They're going to go to where the food is. If you've got a feeder out, they're going to come. If you don't have a feeder out, they're going to go somewhere else. The bigger picture is at this time of year when the bears are coming out, you don't really want to have bird feeders out, because the bears will raid the bird feeders. It becomes a food source for the bears, and we don't want bears to become dependent on people. Not dependent on people, but look at people as a food source. So that, to me, is the reason I wouldn't put feeders out at this time of the year. If you don't have any bears in your area, you might want to put a feeder out. And again, any time of the year, the birds are smart enough to know when to come and go. But almost everywhere in Connecticut has bears. So I would say during bear season, the birds are going to have to fend for themselves. Except for hummingbirds. You can put hummingbird feeders out. I'm sure a bear might like to drink the sugar water out of a hummingbird feeder, though. All right, I hope I've answered everyone's questions. This is one of those programs you don't want to stop filming because it's so interesting to watch what the birds are doing. Now she's seeing herself there. That's so cool. All right. I wonder if she could break the camera. They have a pretty powerful beak. You've seen her peck at my hand a little bit. She's not being rough with my hand. She's not like trying to open a nut. When they're opening a nut, though, they can tear a peanut apart in moments. And they'll also eat acorns. Acorns and hickory nuts. They can open hickory nuts, too. All right, right now they're as close to each other as they usually get. All right, let's see if we have any other questions. Somebody puts oranges out to attract orioles. Do the bears like... So bears are omnivores. They will eat just about anything. They're probably not familiar with citrus, so they may not recognize it as a food source, but if they realize it's a food source, that could change. Bears are smart. So also, oriole season, unless you've got one nesting in your area, for me, they just pass through, and I had one last weekend, and it's moved on. I probably won't see it again until next year when it moves through and finds its nesting area. I was hoping it would nest. I think everybody hopes that they'll have an oriole nest in their yard, but it doesn't always happen. Not sure if you guys can hear that, but she's going after the microphone right there. All right. I want to thank everybody for tuning into this episode of My Favorite Animal, which today is the blue jay, and she is fascinated by the mic. She just discovered the microphone, so I'm going to let everybody go. This afternoon, very cool program. I'm going to be at Fort Griswold State Park. A lot of history at Fort Griswold. I love history, so I'm going to tell you, there's lots of actually versions of this history, but we'll be at Fort Griswold at 2 o'clock. Tune into Facebook Live. I can't wait for that event. It's going to be lots of fun. And for now, Lindy is going to say goodbye. Take a bow. You going to bow? No, not really bowing, but I hope everybody enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.